Hello and welcome to a new episode of Literature Snacks. Now today we're analyzing the famous soliloquy from Hamlet, to be or not to be. I have to ask you to cut me some slacks as literature snacks are videos that are supposed to last around from 15 to 20 minutes maximum. So I can't fix the whole tragedy in 20 minutes and I can't even give you all the information that should come along with the analysis of the monologue of To Be or Not to Be. So I am going to leave some information out. If you want me to do more episodes maybe about Hamlet, let me know through the channels that you know. You can also comment it below and subscribe to the channel. Having said this, remember that as a literary genre, the theater is multidimensional, which means it needs to be on stage and its words acquire meaning only by being acted from an actor. So this video of me explaining the text won't be enough at all. But what I can do is to analyze the monologue and to analyze 4 different soliloquy from 4 different actors, and I will leave you the link down in the description of all 4 so you can watch them and see the monologue taking life. We are going to analyze 4 different actors. First one is Kenneth Branagh, obviously. Northern Irish actor and filmmaker. His version of Hamlet was staged in 1996 and it is a film adaptation. Then I'm going to analyze Mel Gibson's soliloquy. He's an American actor who starred as Hamlet in 1990 in the film adaptation of Franco Zeffirelli. Then I'm going to analyze David Tennant, more modern. He's a Scottish actor who played Hamlet in the Royal Shakespeare Company film adaptation in 2009. Last but not least, we are going to see Benedict Cumberbatch, an English actor, mostly known for interpreting Sherlock and Doctor Strange. He played Hamlet in 2015 or 2015 at the Barbican Theatre. If you need more information about the Elizabethan theatre, please remember that I did an episode almost 1 year ago. Is in the playlist of Is Your Quarantine with Literature. I will leave you the link in the description below. Now, Hamlet. The tragedy of Hamlet was written between 1600 and 1605. The queen died heirless, which means with no heirs, and after a delicate and heated argument, the parliament decided to put on the throne James VI of Scotland, who later became James I of England, in an attempt also to join Scotland and England together. The deep distrust that English people had toward James I is partly represented by the hatred that Hamlet has for Claudius. Another difficulty for us has been the text, as companies at the time had no interest in publishing the text because there weren't any copyright laws. Academics have been working on 4 different texts of the Hamlet. They are called Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. This version from the New Cambridge Shakespeare is the closest text that we have to what probably Shakespeare originally wrote. Why is Hamlet so famous? Now, you should keep in mind that Hamlet is the representation of medieval men getting out from the Renaissance. Hamlet feels his ideas crumbling down, and all through the play and in that period there is less faith and confidence in God and religion, but there is more confidence in free will and man's potentiality. This results in a perception of instability of values and of the world, a breach in the order of things. Therefore, Hamlet's language is always interrogative, reflecting the issues of the time. The tragedy's language is built on Litotes. A litotes is a figure of speech that uses a negative to assert a positive, as in Act 1, Scene 2, Claudius say, "He hath not failed to pester us with a message." Litotes are used in order to express the fact that reality is not univocal and easy to describe. The other figure of speech used in all the tragedy is oxymoron. Oxymoron is the figure of speech that describes the paradox. As in Act 3, Scene 4, Hamlet says, "I must be cruel only to be kind." There are also, in all the tragedy in Hamlet's language, a lot of puns. A pun is a joke exploiting the possible different meaning of a word. For example, Act 1, Scene 2, Hamlet saying, "I am too much in the sun." In this scene, Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, is trying to have Hamlet joining in the party for the coronation of Claudius. Hamlet is sad with an inky cloak, so a very dark and deep cloak, and he say, "I am too much in the sun." Sun is working as son, so I am too much in the part of the son who has just lost a father, so I can't participate. But it is also a mockery because it sounds also like son, saying, "I am too much in the sun. Oh no, I am absolutely happy to be part of the party that we are having because my father died." Everything starts with Hamlet's father appearing as a ghost and asking him for vengeance. Asking for vengeance is a typical medieval value, and yet Hamlet questions his role as a revenger. This is typical of the Renaissance attitude. The doubt is what probably makes Hamlet the most human character of all Shakespeare's work. All throughout the play, we see a progressive disappearance of sacred and religion. The ghost introduces this by describing Claudius' crime and by comparing it to the original sin. But though Hamlet's mother, Gertrude, she seems to be conspiring with Claudius, but the ghost seems not to accuse her. So we are having almost a conflict of interest. By doing this, the debate about free will and original sin is introduced. Another concept introduced by the ghost of Hamlet's father and then developed in the monologue that I am going to analyze is the afterworld. As Hamlet's father had died without the possibility to confess his sin, he says that he is in a sort of purgatory, described more as a hell. He talks about sulfurous and tormenting flames, but his penance will eventually end.
I am thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast in fires, till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away. But that I am forbid to tell the secrets of my prison house, I could a tale unfold, whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood.
This was Brian Blessed acting as Hamlet's father in the film adaptation from Kenneth Branagh in 1996. Divine justice is presented rather in a problematic way from the ghost, because he believes in divine justice, as I say that his sins will be purged away, but he still asks Hamlet to substitute himself to divine justice by asking to kill Claudius. The soliloquy takes place in Act 3, Scene 1, and it starts with the famous lines, "To be or not to be."
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them.
The question that Hamlet is asking is whether to live a life attached to an outrageous fortune or to commit suicide. To be or not to be, which is to kill myself. The fact that he is contemplating attempting suicide is a strong signal of the absence of sacred, as committing suicide is a sin. Very grave also.
To die, to sleep, no more, and by sleep to say we end the heartache, and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. There's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us a pause. There is the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin.
In this part of the monologue, in a blink of an eye, Hamlet casts a whole different light on death by comparing it to sleep. Suddenly, death is not the end of everything. And in this sleep of death, dreams may come. Hamlet is now afraid of what may come after death, but he never speaks of the consequence of the sin of committing suicide. So again, sacred is absent.
Who would fardels bear, to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no travellers return, puzzles the will, and make us rather bear those ills we have, than fly to others that we know not of.
In these lines, we see the Christian idea of afterworld replaced by fear. There is no heaven anymore. There is just an undiscovered world from which no one has ever returned. So we don't know what is there. By saying that no traveler has ever returned, Hamlet is also questioning the essence of his father. Would it be true or not true? Because if his father is really a ghost, then he actually is a traveler coming back from the afterworld. But he say that no traveler is ever coming back, so his father is just a mockery of his mind. We are increasing the idea of craziness in Hamlet that I'm not going to analyze today. The doubting of the essence of his father is the dissension of a Renaissance man coming out from the Middle Age. Renaissance people, Renaissance in general, now trust more facts and science than religion and supernatural. But Hamlet is a medieval man coming out from the Middle Age, so it's really hard for him to leave this belief of religion and supernatural out, because he was born with them, he was nurtured with these values, and now he has to let them go, and he doesn't really know how to do that.
Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is liquid o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment with disregard their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action.
Hamlet ends his thoughts by acknowledging that the fear of unknown prevents him, but he's saying us. In order to extend the condition to entire humanity. So the fear of unknown prevents us from taking any action. This is the meaning of lose the name of action. So in the end, Hamlet does not commit suicide, mainly because he is afraid of what is after life, not because he fears a divine punishment. We are way out of the Middle Age now. We see Hamlet becoming the protagonist of inaction. He is turning into the opposite of any hero we have ever seen. Hamlet is now merely human. As for any theatrical text, as I said before, the script alone is not enough. Especially the monologue of to be and not to be changes depending on the actor that acts it and also by the decision of the director. Let's see 4 different actors acting this monologue and let's see what are the results. The first one that I'm talking about is Kenneth Branagh. Now, for his film adaptation in 1996, Kenneth Branagh chose Blenheim Palace, a country house in Woodstock, Oxfordshire. He chose a hall of the palace full of mirror as a set for the famous soliloquy. So Hamlet is performing the soliloquy in front of the mirror. This enhances the idea of Hamlet talking to himself, plus the framing set behind him gives us the idea of looking directly into the mirror and into his mind. But pay attention, because mirror can be revealing, but they can also be deceiving, as mirrors reflect reality, but we can see reality only with our eyes, and our vision may not be accurate. So this choice of Kenneth Branagh reflects the instability of values and the perception of the world that the passage from Middle Age to Renaissance is causing. Second one, Mel Gibson. Now, Mel Gibson in 1990 was famous for his main role in Lethal Weapon. He was famous for being a character of action. That's why Franco Zeffirelli chose him. He decided to make the king of action, having become the king of inaction to enhance the effect. The set that Zeffirelli has chosen were the catacombs. In this way, he highlights the connection between the dead and the underworld. The sentence, "No travelers have ever returned," finds its maximum meaning as Hamlet is literally walking among the dead, and they are not moving, amplifying the distance between their world and Hamlet's world. David Tennant was in the film adaptation of the Royal Shakespeare Company in 2009. The director Tony Richardson used the Roundhouse Theatre in London as a set of the film. So Hamlet in this soliloquy is filmed from his back at the beginning of the soliloquy, as to suggest that he is speaking at the infinity, but then the camera moves and we see Hamlet from the front, still looking away from the camera as he was lost in thought. So we have the impression that he's not with us with his mind, and he's visiting those places of the underworld that he is talking about. And we are left here on the earth, and we can only listen to his word in order to imagine what he is seeing. This is a film adaptation set in the theater, so we are getting closer, with respect to the other two, to what the audience at the time, but even now, if we go to the theater, if we will ever be able to go back to the theater, had to do. No sets, we needed to rely only on the actor's word. But anyway, the framing is still helping. having Hamlet on one side of it and a complete pitch black background behind him, as if Hamlet is trying to get out from the darkness and obscurity of his desperation, but still he can't. Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, the project of the National Theatre Live in 2015 set the tragedy in a modern world, with the actor dressed as with modern clothes, to underline that the problems highlighted in Shakespeare's tragedy are so universal that are still resonating even nowadays. For the monologue scene here, as you can see, Benedict is knelt down and his performance has a climax of desperation. He seems suffocating and always on the verge of tears. In his performance, fear is the feeling that is dominating, making Hamlet probably more human than ever. He is a hero, but he can't get over his fears, which is something that we do every day or every time. I mean, we are heroes in our stories, but sometimes we find ourselves blocked from our fears. This monologue is probably the most inclusive of all four, placing Hamlet's humanity above all. The monologue of To Be or Not to Be is probably one of the most famous monologue of Shakespeare. Still, I have to underline, my explanation is absolutely not enough. There are several more interpretations that you can see about this monologue, because it's literally universal. I would suggest you to search on the internet more and more actors, as many actors as you can see, because as you see, from the actor and from the director, the monologue can change and can show different highlights of aspects. There are still a lot of discussion going on this specific monologue, Soliloquy, as there are many discussions going on for Shakespeare in general. If you go on the internet, you also may find some actresses performing this dialogue. I would suggest you to watch them, because as you will see, there is no difference at all. It doesn't matter if Hamlet is a man or a woman, because what matters about Hamlet is that Hamlet is human. Seeing the monologue performed from a woman can enhance the fear that every woman is probably experiencing when they are pregnant. They have no idea of what kind of human being their child will be, and actually there is no traveler who ever come back, because you have to live, nurture your child, grow up with your child, and then see what kind of person he is. No one can actually go back in the past and tell you that no, your child is going to turn up a wonderful person, or no, your child is going to turn up a metalhead, for example. Same as you need to die in order to see what is afterworld. Another curiosity that I'm going to tell you, maybe you have noticed, none of the actors that we have analyzed together are holding a skull. That's because the monologue with the skull in his hand is not the soliloquy of To Be or Not to Be. It comes several scenes later, several acts later, and it takes place in the graveyard. And he is actually literally holding a skull, because it's seeing a skull of the jester that he used to know when he was a child that triggers loads of emotions, and that soliloquy is about the catharticity of life, while this soliloquy is about to live or to commit suicide. Now, thank you very much for being with us. I really hope that you like this video. If you want more episodes about Hamlet, you can leave your comment in the comment section, and I will see if I can go on with another episode of Hamlet. A special thank to Jacopo, one of my former students from the international school, who lent his voice for the analysis that I made today. I'm leaving all the links of the 4 monologues that we saw together in the description. I did not include them in the video in order to not occur to any copyright problems. This is our Facebook page. This is our Instagram page. This is our email address. Please like, share, comment this video. Spread Hamlet all around. We need more Hamlet, more humanity. We need to know what Shakespeare meant. And you need to read Shakespeare and make your own opinion. Because this is what is wonderful about Shakespeare. You can have a different opinion, and guess what? It still can stand. Thank you very much for being with us. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.